Good morning and good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's presentation. Today is about our MHTTC K through 12 team and our collaboration with NAFFA. And we also have the team from NAFFA here, and they're going to speak with you shortly. Just a couple of things. Next slide, please. We are a National American Indian and Alaska Native American Mental Health Technology Transfer Center. As you see on the map, there are several TTC centers. However, we serve American Indians and Alaska Natives across the US. So if you ever need any type of technical assistance, please reach out to our agency. Next slide, please. Thank you. This project is supported by SAMHSA. The content is developed by the presenter, and the opinions expressed is not necessarily the reviews or the policies of SAMHSA, HHS, or the American Indian and Alaska Native MHTTC centers. Just a few housekeeping rules. We are being recorded today. Is that correct, Kate? We have our recording on. It will be uploaded to our Native Center for Behavioral Health YouTube channel, and it'll also be on our website. So you can always share this content and go back to later viewing. At the end of the day's session, we will talk more about what we are offering and collaborating with the NAFFA organization. Just a few housekeeping rules. Please keep mindful that we all have different views and opinions, so please be respectful to each other. Also, if you have questions during the presentation, Al, if you're okay with them raising your hand or putting it in the chat, okay, I can go ahead and just ask the questions as we go through this. Also, we will leave time at the end of the session today to answer any questions that you may have. Following today's session, you will receive the PowerPoint presentation. You will also receive a GIPRA evaluation. And if you need information on CEUs, please contact us and we will assist you with that. Next slide, please. Just something very dear to my heart. This is our land acknowledgement here in Iowa. This was developed by 3 of our coworkers, Ella Driscoll, Keely Driscoll, and Sean Baer. Please take just a few minutes to look this over. Okay, next slide, please. Hi, everyone. My name is Theresa Brewington. I'm an enrolled member of the Coharie tribe and a descendant of the Lumbee tribe. I have been in numerous roles, from being a mental health director, working with Hispanic students as a school counselor, being a school principal at a tribal enrolled school. I also have several credits towards my counseling degree. I have a master's in business administration and a master's in educational leadership. I have dedicated my life's work to working with my Native people, who I love. I just wanted to also announce that we just received a very nice grant. You will be receiving some information very shortly so that we could better serve our Native peoples. It is on the foundation of integrational trauma and going from there. And I think it's just very important, and we have some really wonderful things coming forward. I do live here on the Meskwaki settlement with my husband and our grandchild. Next slide, please. Okay. We are going to open this up now to the Native American Fatherhood and Families Association. Al Pooney, he is the owner of the organization. However, before we get started, I do want to open this up in a good way. So I have asked my Native sister, Amy, if she could open us up in a good way today.
Sure, I'll go ahead and start off with a prayer if you guys don't mind.
Yes, please.
Our dear Father in heaven, we come before thee this beautiful morning to give thanks to thee for all thou hast given us, for our many blessings, for our health and strength, and for the opportunity that we have to be here with the University of Iowa and all of our colleagues and brothers and sisters. We ask you to please bless each and every one of them and their families and whatever blessings that they may need at this time in their personal lives. And we are grateful again for all that thou hast given us. And we pray that thou may please bless us with thy spirit throughout this day and throughout these presentations, that we may be able to learn from the things that are being taught and help us to improve ourselves and our families and our communities. And again, we are grateful for our many freedoms and blessings thou hast bestowed upon us. And we ask you these things and do so in the name of thy son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you for that. Aho, would anybody else like to say any words of wisdom, play any drums, say anything in their native language before we get started today? And I'm asking the audience. Okay, then I am going to hand it over to NAFFA to begin their presentation.
All right, good morning, everybody. I'll go ahead and start us off. My name is Amy Fatwafe, and I'm the Executive Director here at Native American Fatherhood and Families Association. After me, we'll have Al Pooley, who's our founder and president of our organization, and he'll be doing the most of the explanation of our programs and our approach. But what we do is that we work with about 250 different tribes and communities throughout the whole nation, tribes and agencies, and our whole focus is on strengthening families by promoting responsible fatherhood and motherhood. And so with that being said, we understand that our Native communities are struggling in lots of things. And so our whole focus is on how can we strengthen the family and bring back that old message of what our forefathers taught. And so we're very excited to be here working with the University of Iowa, serving all of you as well, and sharing some insight about what we do. We're located in Mesa, Arizona. We were founded in 2002, so we've been around for a few years. And some of you may have known our foundation curriculum, which is called Fatherhood is Sacred, Motherhood is Sacred. And so with that being said, if we have a national conference coming up too, we'll have information on that at the end as well. But if you have any questions throughout this presentation, please feel free to either write a note or raise your hand or just flag us down or just unmute and speak, and we'll be open to that. So, but Al, he's, I guess I'll turn the time over to you, Al, if you'd like to go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, and good morning. As she said, my name is Al, but my real name is Albert, but everybody just calls me Al. A little bit about who I am. I'm a half Hopi and half Navajo from Arizona. And I have 6 children and 16 grandchildren. I've been married to my wife, Julia, for 52 years. I'm actually a marriage and family therapist by profession. And I've been a therapist since 1971. I've been around a long time. That's awesome. I've been very blessed to work with. I've worked with over 400 tribes throughout my professional career. I've been to every province in Canada. I've worked with tribes from Alaska to Florida, from Maine to Hawaii. And so as a therapist, I've looked at various modalities of treatment. I've used to do things like I've taught Gestalt, psychocybernetics, reality therapy, Maslow's hierarchy. So I'm quite familiar with all those kind of different approaches. And I just felt that there's a lot of good information there. There's a lot of good information, but I've found that a lot of it just doesn't quite many times resonate with our Native people. And so let me give you a quick simplistic view of what I mean by that. What a theory is, it starts with one idea. You have 2 ideas that they have to have a relationship. You got to explain these ideas too, but simplistic saying that you have one idea You have two ideas. They got to be explained. Now they have to have relationship. If you have two ideas, that's now called a concept, a theoretical concept. When you have three ideas, now I get another idea, a third idea, that they all have to have a relationship with each other. Now you have a theoretical construct. You're starting to construct theory. Okay, what happens now is that before it can become a theory, it has to be tested in an environment. And most theories, most modalities are tested in non-native communities. They may have been tested, let's say, in New York or Baltimore, places like that. And it works in those communities. So if you can envision with me, you have a square box that has a lot of promise to it because it works in those communities. Then you bring that square box, let's say the native people are round, okay? You get that square box, that theory that seems to work, and you try to put it in this round circle. It doesn't quite fit. There's a lot of good information there, but it doesn't quite resonate. And unfortunately, what I've found through my experience is when a theory doesn't fit, they never question the theory. Most of the time they say to the people, you're the problem. And so what I've done is that we have developed an approach of working with our people. I've used that from my experience as a practitioner, used it as a father. I was born and raised on the reservation. I went to boarding schools like everybody else. I work with all these tribes. I said, what seems to work for me? And so what I want to explain to you our approach. And so basically, that's what a theory is. Remember, it's a cluster of ideas. Now, again, this is important to understand. If things don't work with people, most of the time, people tend to blame the people, not the theory or or not the modality or who is presenting it. So I'll go over what we do now. Now, in my approach, in NAFFA's approach, I never tell people that they're sick. I never tell people that they're broken. I never tell them that they're dysfunctional. I tell them most people, now there's a thing called mental illness. That's something different. When most people are not sick, they're not dysfunctional, or they're not broken. They have been misled, misguided, misdirected, and misinformed. Now, there's different ways you could do that. Your own mom and dad can mislead you, misdirect you. Government can do that. Science can do that. Traditions can do that. Even your own husband and wife can do that. Now, I have learned that what causes a lot of the problems is that you may have heard the term lost soul, and somebody, well, if it's a lost soul, I say this, what a lost soul is that they are so confused because they have got a lot of information that has been based on lies and deception. Just imagine with me, if everyone lied to you or told you half of a truth, your parents, your spouse, your neighbors, your colleagues, if everyone lied to you, you become so confused so quickly. Who can I trust? Who do I have confidence in? And then you begin to do things that totally are not appropriate. So that's why I said, now, what I've done is that we said, now, our program works on 5 basic things. And I say, this is not really a theoretical model. To me, I tell people, this is Native American 101. Now, what I mean by that is that we work on truths. And we say, now, we don't bring any religion into our program. We don't even bring Native American religions in, because that's up to dad and mom to determine how they lead their family spiritually. But we say this, we can look at truths, 5 truths we talk about. Number 1, we work with our clients, work with our people. Do you have the desire to find the truth? The desire is very important to find the truth. Number 2, do you have the ability to recognize truth when you hear it, when you see it, or when you feel it? Now, if you're drunk, if you're high on drugs, or if you're angry, or if you're jealous, it's almost impossible to recognize truth. Truth can be very simple and plain, and people still won't recognize it. Let's say a person that's really jealous. All they want to do is win. They don't want to solve the problem. So number 2, can you recognize truth? Number 3, can you communicate truth? Not some of it, but all of it. And I say why. It's very important to communicate truth. You know why? When you start communicating lies, you start destroying or killing the relationship. So can you communicate truth? Now, there's a method to that. I don't want you to be condescending. I don't want you to be rude. There's a way to communicate things. Okay? We don't want you to preach. We don't want you to do those things because people turn away. So can you communicate truth? Remember, when we stop communicating truth, we're starting to destroy or kill relationships. Simple as that. Number 4, now do you have the ability or do you have the courage to accept the truth? Which means we're going to have to change. And I tell people, as a therapist, I have learned that I do not have the talent, the skills, the knowledge to change anybody. That's a very personal thing. Nobody can change anybody. Now, I can motivate, I can encourage, I can inspire people, but I can't change them. And nobody can change them. If somebody says they can change the people, they're lying. Because you may change them for a few minutes, for a few hours, for a few days, but change has to come from within. Okay? So I said you can motivate, you can encourage, you can inspire, all those things, but you can't change people. So you got to give them correct information or truth information, and mainly the truth about themselves. Now, the last thing is now, can you show truth or can you live it? If you do those 5 things, a desire to find it, the ability to recognize it, do you have the skills to communicate it, the courage to accept it, and to show it? It's a law. You will change. But real change comes slow and steady. Okay? Slow and steady. Because people that can't just change that quickly. And so what we do in our program, we say, the first point of change is your thoughts. I've been in the field of alcoholism for years. I was a consultant for NAFFA for a number of years. And you've heard the term fall off the wagon. Why does someone fall off the wagon? There's a lot of ideas about that, but my thoughts on that is this. Why someone falls off the wagon is because they haven't changed the way they think. They keep thinking the same way. Now, again, I don't tell people that they're sick. I really don't push that because we Native people have been told by everyone how sick we are, how broken we are, and those things, and people believe it. Now, from that, we work at that. How do you communicate the truth? We work on 3 basic things. When I work with my clients, when I teach, I work on developing someone's self-worth. People really have to understand the value of themselves, because all major decisions you make in your life, friendship patterns, marriage, everything, has a direct correlation back to your self-worth. Now, as part of your self-worth, we have to develop standards. They have to be your standards. They can't be somebody else's. They have to be yours, which means you have to understand them. I remember one time I had a client of mine. She was a young lady, and she came in to see me. She said, "Oh, Mr. Pooley, I'm just so in love with this guy." And I said, "Well, can you share some things with me why you love him so much?" And then she says, "He's just handsome. He's just hot. He's hot." I said, "Well, that's a good starting point, okay?" I said, "Can you share with me another thing that you love about him so much?" She thought for a while, "Oh, just everything, just everything." And I said, "Well, what's another thing?" You know what she said? "I just love the way he holds his cigarette." Can you imagine marrying somebody because they hold a cigarette a certain way? So I was just very curious. I said, can you show me how he holds a cigarette? Just out of curiosity, I want to see what happened. She did. So she got her pack of cigarettes and just hit it just one time. All the cigarettes came out even. She said, I did it. I can never do it. But it doesn't. My boyfriend does it all the time. And he gets a cigarette that's out the longest, and he gets it, and he rolls it in his fingers, and he's like this, and then the first puff, he goes, he's puts your foot up. The second puff is two. She says, isn't that the neatest thing? I just love it. I said, man, I probably would fall in love with him myself. He's so cool. Now, again, self-worth. You know what? Self-worth, a lot of our self-worth is tied to how we were raised as a child. Because you know what? What a child learns in the home lasts the longest. What the child learns in the home is powerful, very powerful. Then I work on someone's identity. Just who are you? Not who you want to be, but who are you? That's important, your own personal identity. I have a course called Addressing Family Violence. And in that course, I say, true domestic violence is true identity theft. You're stealing or stripping away somebody's identity. As you all know, when you begin to submit, submission is a big thing in identity. And many times people submit for various reasons. Some of them are very good reasons. But again, you're the only person, I tell people, you are unique. You are important. You are valuable. You are priceless. And you are even precious, precious, precious. You have to understand that. I want you to have your own identity. Now, sometimes we like surrender our identity. Okay. But again, I say, and I always give them an example. I say, what's your mother's name? They tell me your mother's name. Let's say your mother's name is Jane. I say, your mother Jane carried you in her body for 9 months. You caused your dear mother 9 months of discomfort. You were moving, you were pushing, you were kicking. 9 months of discomfort. But I said, just like play along with me. I said, your mother, when she was carrying you, before she knew you were a boy or a girl, she would probably talk to you. And she probably talked to the Creator. And she says, she promised, if you do this, I will do this. But your mother said this, I want you to be successful. So I says, your identity is this. Your mother carried you for 9 months to be successful, not to be a loser, not to be a quitter, but to be successful. Understand that. That's who you are. You are on this earth to be successful, to succeed in life. But it doesn't stop with your mother. Your forefathers all the way back for generation. We think we have it tough today. Our forefathers, they knew what suffering was. Your forefathers also promised a Creator. They promised a Creator. They wanted their posterity, you and me, to be successful. So I says, understand something, people. You are a child of promise. You are here to be successful. You are here to be successful in your relationships, in your family, everything. Because our whole thing is centered on family. So we work to make it very personal. And I would love to teach you some of these things. And some people have never heard that because they've been abandoned, they've been neglected, they've been abused, they've been molested, and they don't think very much of themselves. Then the third thing we work on is bringing purpose to your life. Why is purpose so important? Because if you don't have purpose in your life, people do this. They live from day to day or party to party. They don't get anything accomplished. And they live in a world of dreams and make-believe and fantasy. But when you bring purpose to their life, they have structure, they have guidance, they have discipline. So we say, okay, so that's how we get to those truths: self-worth, personal identity, and purpose. And people really like that. Okay, now, so And then the outcomes, what are the outcomes of this thing? Because I want people to be self-sufficient. I want people to be independent, okay? And you do that as a therapist many times. I would talk to couples, and many times, let's pick on a woman, or either one, they look for true love. They look for someone to bring them love. They look for someone to bring them stability. They look for someone to bring them, security. I say, no, you don't do it that way. You can have love, stability, and security as a single person. Let's develop it. Now, so when you find Mr. or Mrs. Right, they're not bringing it to you, because if they bring you love and stability and security and all those things, you have unknowingly put them in the driver's seat of your life. I want each individual to be self-sufficient, independent. We natives are not like that. We depend on everybody. The government, our hands are always out. I don't care what government is, the federal government, the state government, or tribal government, still government. They rarely make decisions in your best interest. Even your own kids. I know a woman that raised 7 children. And then the kids, and one day she got old and feeble. You know what? Those 7 kids couldn't take care of one mother. You have to learn the importance of being responsible for yourself. And we tell them, all life is a process of learning how to solve your own personal problems. Now, the moment you stop solving your problems is the moment you now become the problem, because somebody's going to have to solve your problems that you're not solving. That's why we have counselors and therapists and police officers and courts and prisons, because people are not learning how to solve their own problems. Now, when you solve your problems, guess what? You are now becoming responsible. And responsibility is a sign of maturity. You're finally growing up. And guess what? People will come to you. You think you're chick magnet now. Roman, you think you're chick magnet now. Shoot, you haven't seen nothing yet. When you become responsible and mature, you're going to have all the young ladies come to you. You'll have all old ladies come to you. It doesn't stop there. The young men will come, the old men. Even animals can feel your spirit of goodness. And I say, that's what I would look at. The outcomes are this. You want someone to become a good man or a good woman. I want you to become a good person. Another one, we want you to become decent. You're polite. You have manners. You can listen to both sides of the story. We could talk about what. So you become good, decent, honorable. You're honest in your dealings. And the last one is you become courageous. You become a courageous individual. Why? Because now you are strong. I go to a lot of prisons, and I tell them, and in prison they call themselves warriors or chiefs. In those prisons, if you're part Native American and you're part Caucasian or part Hispanic or part Black, you can't be Native American one day, the next day a Caucasian. It doesn't work that way. You got to stick with your own kind. I say, you guys think you guys call yourself warriors or chiefs, depending on which prison you go to? Let me tell you the biggest fight you're going to have in your life. The most important fight you're going to ever have in your life is this. You have to fight for our families. Our families are being scattered all over. They're in foster care, they're in group homes, they're on the streets, they're in jails. Or they're being raised with extended family, rarely with mom and dad. So the biggest fight you're going to have, so I want to prepare you to go when you get out of this institution to become real warriors and fight for your family. Because the most important thing in this world is your family. And I say, let me say one last thing. I think my time just about up, isn't it?
10 minutes. Yeah.
I tell people, family is critical. They're the heart of our Native people. It's family. It is not the language. Language is beautiful. It is not the songs. It is not the dance. It is not the food. It's family. When our families are broken and scattered, we can be dead as a culture. Let me tell you how important families are. A lot of our people have died. Death should be a reminder of just how important families are. It should be a real reminder. So we got to wake up dad and mom. And we say, you know what? Fatherhood is sacred. Motherhood is sacred. Those perhaps are the two most sacred things on this earth, because you have been given the responsibility from the Creator to raise those children. And we have found in our program, when people really understand, not know, but understand in their heart that their role is sacred as a parent, they are motivated, self-motivated to change and improve their lives. And I said, there are many responsibilities, but two of your sacred responsibilities as a parent, I have a lot of these aren't just responsibilities, these are sacred. A mother and father must teach their children the value and the importance of work. A lot of our kids don't know how to work today. I hate to say this, I've worked with all these tribes. Some moms baby their boys to death, particularly. A lot of our boys don't know how to work. Girls are harder workers than the boys are. It's not just a responsibility, it's a sacred responsibility to teach your children how to work. And the best way to teach them how to work is to work side by side with them. Number two, a sacred responsibility is to teach your children the importance of learning. They have to learn. And education is one thing you have to learn. Let me tell you what happens. I said, if you don't learn, guess what? You will be controlled by somebody or something for the rest of your life. And I'm tired of people controlling our Native people. We must teach our children to learn. It's just not teaching. It's a sacred responsibility as a mother and father to put the desire to learn into our children. So when the kid goes to school, the teacher's job is not to put the desire to learn. The desire has been put there by mom and dad. The teacher enhances that desire, makes that desire grow because it was put there by dad and mom. And so we tell parents, it's for their own survival. It's for their own survival. So those are two driving principles we really push. Okay, but it's all centered around families, because a family is the heart of our Native people. And it's unfortunate so many Native people are highest, as you know, suicide, school dropouts, teen pregnancies, prison, just unbelievable, unbelievable. I think in North Dakota, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think 8 or 9% of the total population of Native Americans, but their prison population exceeds almost close to 50%. That's a tragedy. That's a tragedy. That's why I work on self-worth, identity, and purpose. And I tell the people, you're not sick, you've been misled, misguided, misdirected, or misinformed. Now let's give you correct information. I could go on for hours, but I think my time's up. Any questions?
I have some questions, but you have other speakers as well, correct?
I guess, yeah.
Okay, so I think I might wait and let's hear what they have to say, and then I'll go ahead with my Q&A. Thank you.
Thank you. Did it make sense what I said or not?
Oh, yes.
We have to believe in ourselves. And we can. We've been so dependent on everything and everybody. We can't do it. Let me just say one thing. In fact, I tell this story all the time. I say, let's look at the Japanese. They have what's called a samurai sword. I said, what they do is that they make this mold that looks like a sword. Then they go up in the mountains or wherever they go and they get this ore. They bring the ore back and they melt it. Now it's in liquid form. They pour this ore into this mold and let it sit for a few days, and then they break that mold. They have this sword. I say, it looks like a sword, it feels like a sword, but that sword's not ready for battle yet. Now it goes through a process called tempering. They put it in the hot coals, they bring it out, they get a hammer, and they pound on it. They put it in the cool water, and they pound it again, back in the hot pound coal. They're getting all the impurities out of that metal. They're getting the copper, the iron, the vegetation. They're even getting the air out of that metal. Now you have a piece of steel that is strong. But is it ready for battle yet? No. Now you got to sharpen it. and tell mom and dads, listen, Native peoples have been through all this trauma. They haven't gone through trauma. Our Native forefathers have been through hell. Now, but they are stronger than they even realize. I tell people. So when I work with trauma, I would do it different. We have a whole thing on trauma. You are stronger than you realize. Now, my job is to have you understand how strong you are and to begin to sharpen your skills so you're ready for battle. Because the biggest battle you're going to have is to protect, to keep families together because they're breaking up so much. Now, there's one last part of it. Now that you've been sharpened, now the last stage is we will polish you. And when you're polished, now you become a healer too. I'd love to share with you how this is a process. Life is a process. Healing is a process. It's just not done like that. Anyway, but that's the, I tell people, go to prisons, I tell people, I'm going to tell you a truth. And this is the truth. You are worth more than the worst mistake you have ever made in your life. And that is the truth. My job is to have you understand that you are worth more than the worst mistake you've ever made in your life. And some people even cry when they hear that. Now you can ask questions. No questions. Drink a pop of my diet, this Diet Coke. If you want to get on my good side, anybody, just buy me a Diet Coke and I'm happy, one happy camper.
Good morning. My name
Good
is
morning.
Carrie Dallas, calling in from Flagstaff, Arizona, NAFFA.
Mhm.
So I realize that the Red Ribbon Week is coming up soon, and people have been contacting me, asking me for presenters. Everything you just said seems to capsulize into exactly what people are looking for. Would we be able to refer them on to you? And if so, can you provide your contact information?
Sure.
Excellent.
I'll go
Thank
ahead
you.
and add that, Carrie. Thank you.
Mhm.
Do you know Pam Dallas?
Yes.
Okay, you're a good friend of mine. Okay. Next question.
You guys said this is recorded, right? Is there gonna be a link where we can like watch it later on? My name is Kevin Halata. I'm from Florida, from the Seminole Tribe of Florida.
Nice place.
Did you ask if there was going to be a link? Is that what you said?
Correct.
Yes, you guys are going to get information that I'm going to talk about in just a minute. I just want to make sure that our questions get answered before we go into what we are partnering with NAFFA to do. Has everybody at NAFFA spoken? And then I do have a couple of questions, and then we'll continue to leave it to the audience, and then I'll go into what we're offering.
May I ask a question?
Yes, you
Sure,
absolutely
sure.
can.
Thank you for the presentation. I'm George Brott, and I live in the land we stole from the Okmulgee or Cherokee or Seminoles, depending on which part of Georgia you live in. My question has to do with the kind of dual nature of the mother and father role and how the merging of those is perhaps viewed as a best solution or a best option, so that it's not either or, but it's both and developing those skills and abilities, or both sets of skills and abilities, are perhaps what is optimal. And would you just speak to that in terms of how that fits in with the approach
Sure.
you're proposing?
Yeah. Well, first of all, we tell them this: what fatherhood, motherhood is, it's a full and equal contributing partnership. Okay, each person contributes in their own special way, but it's a full and equal contributing partnership. I make sure that mom and dads know this. You don't own anybody. You don't own your wife and you don't own your husband. Why are you together? Because you willingly want to participate in this relationship. Now, if you stay together, you must understand that both people are important, particularly to the children. The most two important people in the children's life is their mother and father. And we have a part about fatherhood. Let me tell you about motherhood. I tell because when I did therapy, I don't tell a person not to cheat on his wife or husband, because you know why? They already know it. They know they shouldn't cheat. I want that person to really begin to appreciate their spouse. Because you know what I found? When people really appreciate their spouse, really appreciate, you know what? Cheating drops very significantly. Now, I tell them, the guys, you know what? I want both the men and women to understand this. I tell them, the greatest creation of the Creator is not the universe. The greatest creation of the Creator is womanhood. Why womanhood? Because it is through a woman that life is renewed. I'm sorry, Bruce Jenner can't have children, okay? Only a woman can give birth. It is through a woman that life is sustained. In the past, she would breastfeed that child. A man can't do it. It is through a woman that woman makes life beautiful. And I go on to list of things. So I want the man to really appreciate womanhood. And I want women to understand womanhood. And I said, you know what? The strongest thing on this earth, are not politicians, are not gangbangers, are not armies. The strongest thing on this earth is the soft, tender heart of a loving and caring, I emphasize caring, loving and caring mother. There is nothing stronger than that. Some women have children, but they love their kids, but they don't take care of them. The strongest thing on this earth is a soft, tender heart of a loving and caring mother. Simple as that. Now, I said, let me give you some stories on that. Did you know that during the World War II, the battles of Iwo Jima, on the beaches of Iwo Jima and Normandy, these young, strong soldiers, they were being wounded, a lot of them dying. You know what they were crying for? They were crying for their mothers. Women, you're special. Quit trying to be like a man. Be like a woman, a mother. We want all women, whether you have children or not, all women to develop the heart of a loving and caring mother, because there's nothing stronger than that. And I'm speaking Native American 101. Native people got to bring this back to our people.
There's another question, two more questions.
Okay.
Celia?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Hi, my name is Sia from Alaska. I can't start my video. There we go. I'm from Alaska. I'm Athabascan, but my dad is from Pine Ridge, South Dakota. So I have Lakota and Oglala and Ponca in me. I work with through the OJJDP grant, which is the Juvenile Justice Department,
Okay.
at a school that has primarily Native kids. So I was raised by a village. I was raised by many that taught me those affirmations that you're talking about, and I think that's the only reason why I'm here today.